What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. You're tuning in on Spreaker.com, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, at Thomas Takeover. You can send me some questions. There has been a lot of feedback from the listeners, and I want to say I really appreciate it. I really enjoy hearing what everyone has to say in terms of my episodes, my takes, and whether they agree with it or disagree with it. I appreciate you tuning in. The numbers are good, and that's all that matters. So, that being said, there are a lot of awesome sports storylines right now, some of which I've already covered. John Gruden heading back to the Oakland Raiders. The Bills-Jags game, I'll be talking about that a little bit more in depth in 15 minutes after the part one of today's show is wrapped up. There's a lot of awesome storylines. The Kansas City Chiefs just got basically their season ripped from them by the Tennessee Titans at home in Arrowhead. The Titans beating the Chiefs 22-21. They will face the winner of either, depending on this matchup with the Bills, that will depend on who they face, whether they face the Patriots or the Steelers. If the Jags win, they'll play the Steelers, and Tennessee will play the Patriots. If the Bills win, they will play the Patriots, and the Titans will play the Steelers. So there's a lot of interesting things that we will find out within the next, 24 hours, or less than that, I guess I should say, that really are predicated on the Buffalo Bills game, which is pretty rare. We haven't been in this position in a long, long time. But there's a few storylines that have come out recently that have really piqued my interest. And one of those storylines is whether or not this Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft, Tom Brady fallout is for real. Is this true? Do I buy into this story? That is a question that I get a lot, that I've received a lot within the last couple days, and I already planned on giving my take on this entire situation, on my own. But being that it was such a sought after take by the listeners and the viewers of the show, that I thought, you know what, I'm putting this out now. I'm doing this tonight, Saturday night, before the playoff games take place tomorrow. So here it is. A lot of reports coming out. Reports from ESPN, reports from Colin Cowherd, Fox Sports 1, whatever you want to call it, from each and every media outlet, even media outlets inside the city of Boston, WEEI radio station, the New England radio stations, all around that circle, that there is a true fallout brewing with Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. And this is monumental news. This isn't just a big story. This is a massive story. This is a story of all stories when you have a coach that is the best coach in the game, that has coached the franchise for as long as he has, that has continued his run of dominance with the franchise for as long as he has. There's never been a team in the history of professional football that has been as good for as long as the New England Patriots. And the basically matriarch of all of that success is Bill Belichick. Say what you want about Tom Brady, but Bill Belichick is what set the wheels in motion for the Patriots to become what they are today. And Tom Brady kind of was the Bill Belichick might have been in the driver's seat. Tom Brady told Bill Belichick to put his foot on the gas. If that's a weird analogy, that's as best as I can put it. Or maybe sometimes Bill Belichick let Tom Brady drive the car, and Tom Brady was driving that car 100 miles an hour down a straight road. That's neither here nor there. Motivate, whatever metaphor you want to throw in there. This is the most dominant franchise in all of sports. More dominant than the Yankees have been the last 20 years, more dominant than any franchise in sports. So when there's rumblings that this team has a real problem in terms of the top, level of the front office with Robert Kraft, the owner, Bill Belichick, the GM/coach, and then a trickle-down effect from Tom Brady, to Tom Brady, being that Brady is such a huge part of their franchise, and he's the franchise guy. He'll have his number retired, be put in Canton, the best quarterback ever, right? Wrong. wrong not to the best quarterback ever, wrong not to Bill Belichick being the best coach ever, wrong to the whole entire trio of these three guys for allowing this situation to fester for as long as it has. And to me, you want to ask me why this situation is at its boiling point. You want to ask me why the situation is where it is right now. The situation is where it is right now because of the fact that the New England Patriots made a decision this season to trade not just one quarterback, but two quarterbacks. Jacoby Brissett to the Indianapolis Colts when Indy found out that Andrew Luck's shoulder was worse than what they thought it was. They went out and got Jacoby Brissett. When the New England Patriots realized that they could not force Jimmy Garoppolo to stay 1 year longer as a backup, they realized they needed to send him packing for something, for some sort of return, and the most that they could get was a second-round pick from the San Francisco 49ers. Let's look at that decision more, because it's not talked about enough. It wasn't talked about enough when it happened. It hasn't been talked about enough since. I'm going to talk about it now. The Patriots made a decision to trade Jimmy Garoppolo, 26, 27, I don't know his exact age. He's in his 20s. They decided to trade a 20-something-year-old quarterback who has a 10 to 15-year shelf life. 10 to 12, we'll just say 10 to 12. 10 to 12-year shelf life for a quarterback that has 4, maybe 5 years left at age 41, 42, 43, 44, maybe 45, maybe 46. I know this guy is a revelation of modern science. He's the greatest of all time. He should probably win the MVP this year. He's the best quarterback to ever do it. Nobody has done what Tom Brady has done. Nobody, and arguably nobody ever will. If the sport doesn't evolve beyond Tom Brady, nobody is ever going to do what Tom Brady did, the way he did it. The unsung diamond in the rough turns himself into the greatest at his position that the game has ever seen. Nobody has ever done that before. But we all have a choice, and this choice historically, you want to talk about history, this choice historically has chosen the younger version of itself. And it even goes back to Brady versus Bledsoe. It even goes back to Favre versus Rodgers. It even goes back beyond that. The most successful dynasty outside of New England was the San Francisco 49ers. They chose to start Steve Young over Joe Montana. They chose Steve Young over Joe Montana. Joe Montana was a little bit long in the tooth, had some bad knee injuries. Steve Young was the flashy quarterback that offered some different things to their offense. They went with Steve Young. Joe Montana won 4 Super Bowls. Steve Young ended up with 1 ring with the San Francisco 49ers. Aaron Rodgers was chosen over Brett Favre. Brett Favre, granted, has not been playing at that high of a level in comparison to Brady. You're comparing these guys to Brady because that's what I'm doing. I'm comparing two situations to this one situation. Favre was not playing at that level. Montana was not playing at the level that Brady is playing at currently. But regardless, they chose these younger options that were drafted high or highly sought after players in Steve Young and Aaron Rodgers. And they went with those guys. The Patriots found another diamond in the rough in Jimmy Garoppolo in the second round. I believe it was in 2012, 2013 maybe even before that. I can't remember which year it was that he was drafted. But regardless, they went with that choice. They groomed Jimmy Garoppolo to be the eventual successor to Tom Brady. That was the plan. Well, the plan ended up not working, due to the fact that Tom Brady can still play at a high level. But you really look at things, heading into the playoffs, Brady has had the worst December in his entire career this season. And you look at last season with the memorable comeback that was versus the Atlanta Falcons, will it ever be as good as that for Tom Brady? As of now, no. We'll only know the only way it could be as good than that, better than that, is if they win the Super Bowl this year, which they have a very realistic shot at doing. But if you ask me, was it a smart decision that the Patriots chose a 41-year-old quarterback over one that is in his 20s, whether it's Tom Brady, whether it's Brett Favre, whether it's Joe Montana? That was a dumb decision by the Patriots to trade Jimmy Garoppolo because history says it was stupid. History says that they've chosen Aaron Rodgers. They've chosen Steve Young. And they are not two completely different situations. Joe Montana was the greatest 49er quarterback that had ever played for the Niners. Favre was the greatest Green Bay Packer that had ever played for the Packers, quarterback-wise, including Bart Starr. Love Bart Starr, but Favre better. Tom Brady, the best Patriots quarterback that there's ever been. These franchises experience greatness. Want me to throw in another one? Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck. They were not going to pay Peyton Manning $28 million when Peyton Manning had the neck injury that he had. They were going to go younger and use that first-round selection, that first overall pick, on Andrew Luck. It was the smart thing to do. Regardless of what happened in Peyton's career with Denver, the pieces were around him in Denver. Perfect situation, 4 years, $100 million. Actually a huge risk at the time by John Elway to pay him that much money coming off those neck injuries, but regardless, they chose the younger options. And realistically, I do not blame them. Regardless of whether he's Tom Brady or not, the shelf life of Garoppolo is much longer than Tom Brady. That's obvious. I don't think Bill Belichick wanted to trade Garoppolo. I don't think Bill Belichick liked the idea of grooming a player just to play for somebody else once but twice at one position. Brissett was another category all in itself. He was traded first. Brissett is not as good as Garoppolo. Obviously, he's okay. He's a fringe starter. Garoppolo, decent. Or Brissett, decent. Garoppolo is a franchise guy. They groomed their successor to play for another team and start for another team. The Niners have a very, very bad supporting cast on that team. And he's won games, won every start. He had a very good supporting cast in New England, and I would have liked to have seen that. Now, I know it's a little bit ludicrous to even entertain the notion of Tom Brady in another uniform, but it was pretty crazy to entertain the notion of Joe Montana in another uniform. It was pretty crazy to entertain the notion of Brett Favre in another uniform. It's pretty crazy to entertain the notion of Peyton Manning playing in another uniform, but that is the reality of the game. I don't care what diet you're on. I don't care how fit you look. You look like you're 25. Basically, he looks younger than me, and he's 40. The fact is, every dog has his day, and Father Time is undefeated. Whether it's this year, whether it's not this year, whether it's next year or the year after that, Tom Brady only has so long left in the tank, so much left in the tank. I bet you, the moment Tom Brady leaves the NFL, it will not be on top, because this guy will only leave when he has nothing left, just like Peyton. The worst decision that this organization has made under Kraft, Belichick, and Brady is trading his successor, because now they got to use another pick, another high-round pick, to find his successor. And I don't think Bill Belichick was willing to do that. That is the Thomas take on the New England meltdown that is being reported. Real or unreal, only time will tell. I'm Ryan Thomas. It was the Thomas Take. Take care, everybody.